who's joining us electronically. This is the regular meeting of the City Council of the City of Waverly, Iowa. It is 7 o'clock on July 1st, and we are called to order. Would you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Council, good to see you all. You have in front of you an agenda that has been proposed for your consideration. Would anyone like to make a motion?
I will move to approve the agenda as presented.
Second. Thank you. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
That passed unanimously. You have in front of you minutes from our last meeting, which was on June 17th. This was a regular meeting. Can I have a motion?
I will move approval of the June 17th, 2024 regular meeting minutes.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? I hear none. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
And opposed? Still unanimous. Guest council person for this month will be Jared, is it pronounced Geyer? Geyer, thank you.
Yes, sir.
But he is not able to be here this week. We'll look forward to him being present next week. We'll now move to that section of the agenda, which are public hearings. This is the date, time, and place for a public hearing on Ordinance 1146, an ordinance amending the zoning ordinance of the City of Waverly, Iowa, providing for rezoning of 109_1903 and 1951_1953 3rd Street Southwest from an R3 residential district to an R2 residential district and amending the Waverly zoning map as provided by this ordinance. The mayor and city council will entertain any and all comments. After the comments are heard, we will declare the meeting closed and then consider the action in front of us. Is there anyone who would rise to speak to this? Anyone who wants to rise to speak to this? This public hearing is closed.
You want to check for written or?
Oh, yes, I do. Thank you, Brian. Oh, Carla, you got any written or verbal comments on this?
I do not, Your Honor.
Thank you. All righty. So you have in front of you 1A, approval of the third and final reading of Ordinance 1146. This is an ordinance amending the zoning ordinance of the City of Waverly, Iowa, providing for rezoning of 1901_1903 and 1951_1953 3rd Street Southwest from R3 residential district to an R2 residential district and amending the Waverly zoning map as provided by this ordinance. Anyone in the mood to make a motion?
I'll move
Anyone?
approval of the third and final reading of Ordinance 1146, an ordinance amending the zoning ordinance of the City of Waverly, Iowa, providing for rezoning of 1901 to 1903 and 1951 to 1953, 3rd Street Southwest from R3 Residential District to R2 Residential District, and amending the Waverly zoning map as provided by this ordinance.
Second.
Thank you. This is for folks down in Centennial Oaks who want to get out of their HOA. This is the third time you've seen it. Do you have any discussion? None? You appear ready to vote. This is a roll call vote, Carla.
Wolf.
Yes.
Rafi.
Yes.
Myers.
Yes.
Kangas.
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
Drinkow.
Yes.
Bergen.
Yes.
Thank you. That passed unanimously. We're on to item 1B. This is a resolution 24-119, a resolution approving a plat of survey for parcel ZZ, parcel AB, parcel AC, and parcel AD, all located at 1901_1903 and 1951_1953 3rd Street Southwest, Waverly, Iowa. Would anyone care to make a motion?
I'll move approval of resolution 24-119, a resolution approving a plat of survey for parcel ZZ, parcel AB, parcel AC, and parcel AD located at 1901_1903 and 1951_1953 3rd Street Southwest, Waverly, Iowa.
Second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? I hear none. You appear ready to vote. Carla?
Rafi.
Yes.
Myers.
Yes.
Kangas.
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
Drinkow.
Yes.
Bergen.
Yes.
Wolf.
Yes.
That passed unanimously. We're on to item 2A. To approve the second reading of Ordinance 1148, This is an ordinance amending the zoning ordinance of the city.
Public hearing.
Oh, right there on that page, there. Sorry. Item 2. This is the date, time, place of public hearing, ordinance 1148, an ordinance amending the zoning ordinance of the city of Waverly, Iowa, providing for rezoning of 725_729 Second Street Northeast from residential 1, R1 residential district to an R2 residential district, and amending the Waverly zoning map as provided by this ordinance. The mayor and city council will entertain any and all comments. After all the comments are made, the hearing will be declared closed and the following action will be considered. Is there anyone who would rise to item number 2? Anyone who would rise? Madam Clerk, have you received any written or oral comments?
I have not, Your Honor.
Anyone else? Anyone going to rise? This meeting is declared closed. We'll move to the council. 2A. This is to approve the second reading of ordinance 1148, an ordinance amending the zoning ordinance of the city of Waverly, Iowa, providing for rezoning of 725_729 Second Avenue Northeast from an R1 residential district to an R2 residential district, and amending the Waverly zoning map as provided by this ordinance. Would there be anyone who would care to make a motion?
I move to approve the second reading of ordinance 1148, an ordinance amending the zoning ordinance of the City of Waverly, Iowa, providing for rezoning of 725 to 729 Second Avenue Northeast from R1 residential district to R2 residential district, and amending the Waverly zoning map as provided by this ordinance.
Second.
We'll give that to Brian. All right, council, do you have any discussion?
Well, if you recall, I had some questions about this when this came up at our June 17th meeting. And frankly, even though I voted in favor of it, I still wasn't entirely satisfied that I understood what the purpose of this rezoning was. So I took it upon myself to do some intensive research, thank you Google, and discovered that a lot of my confusion had to deal more with terms and definitions than it did the actual result of what we're doing. And that came from the difference between a two-family dwelling versus a single-family attached dwelling. And that was really confusing me because one of those terms is defined in our code of ordinances and the other one is not. So what I understand, and I want to briefly explain what I see as what we're doing here. And if what I'm saying is not correct, hopefully one of the rest of you or somebody out in the assembled people out there can clarify it for me. I hate to vote for something if I don't understand what it is I'm voting for. So this is what I'm taking it at. Right now, that property is zoned R1 residential district, even though it is a duplex. And the duplex is defined as a two-family structure that is on the same lot. So both of these structures that are attached are on the same lot. That's what makes it a duplex. R1 does not permit duplexes. So obviously this was there before at some point it was grandfathered in. What we're attempting to do here is to make the change the zoning so that the zoning is in compliance with the zoning area. Since it's out of compliance with R1, where is it going to be in compliance with? Well, it would be in compliance if we changed it to an R1A. The problem is that under R1A, it does not permit duplexes. So it would permit a single-family attached dwelling, but not a duplex. And the single-family attached dwelling, as I understand it, is it's like a duplex, but it's on two different lots. There are two different people that own the properties. There's a house that has an attached wall, a common wall that's right on the boundary between those two lots. A duplex is on one lot. A single-family attached dwelling has separate lots with different people owning each of those lots. It's just that the building is attached, it's one building. So as I said, R1A does not allow duplexes, so we would still be out of compliance if we made that, change the zoning to an R1A. So by changing it to an R2, we bring it into compliance. In addition, the R2 allows for single-family attached dwellings and also duplexes. So if the owners sometime down the road wanted to sell that duplex, split the property off into two different lots and sell them to two different people, they could do that under this zoning ordinance. So we basically are killing two birds with one stone. We're not only bringing that property into compliance, but we're also making it more easily marketable in the future, should that be something that the owner wants to do. I don't see a problem with this, because even then, even under an R2 zoning, it's not going to change the character of that building or any future building on that lot at all. It's going to be at least what it is now, or perhaps even two separate buildings. I was a little concerned when it came out of the meeting on June 17th that there might be some possibility of something else being built on that we wouldn't want, or that the neighborhood wouldn't want, but I don't think that's going to be an issue, because all that can happen is going to be what is already there. So we're not diminishing the property rights of any of the other owners around there. So that makes me feel much more comfortable about voting in favor of this. I think it's a good thing to do, and I would support that. Does that make sense to the rest of you? I'm amazed, because it usually doesn't make sense to me. But thank you. That to me makes a whole lot of sense as to why we're doing this and not leaving it as R1 or doing it as an R1A property. So,
I mean, generally, when it's out of compliance, where it's non-conforming, it's always good to rezone it so it is conforming, but there's usually not the motivation for the property owner to do it. So because the property owner wants the freedom to do something else, they now currently have the motivation to bring it back into compliance.
Right.
So normally they can just sit there forever and ever non-conforming, but as long as the property owner wants to bring it into compliance, I am all in favor of them wanting to do it regardless of what their motivation is, because it's good to have zoning match the usage.
So it might be helpful in future discussions like this to have that document in our packet, right, that you're looking at, that
Yeah.
explains R1, R1A, R2, just as part of our background info, along with the other documents, so that then we can, because I can't remember
Well,
what I wouldn't have remembered what an R1A was until you
my concern
said
wasn't
it.
so much about what was R1 or R2, it was I couldn't wrap my head around what was the difference between a single-family attached.
Well, we just
dwelling.
created those with Centennial Oaks,
Yeah.
right? Because now they have
Yeah.
separate
Right.
lots and separate.
Right. So that makes sense, because a duplex would be a property like that that's on one lot, and, otherwise you have townhouses and that kind of thing that are actually separate properties, so.
So maybe having Paige put that in future would help
Well,
us.
zoning is very complex anyway,
It
and
is.
dealing with all of these different terms and trying to understand, what exactly is trying to be accomplished is difficult. So the more, at least for me personally, the more help that you can give me, the better, because I'm a little slow on the pickup on some of this stuff, so.
It's okay, about the time you understand it, they'll start changing some of the zoning.
Yeah.
I don't say that.
Councilor Buchholz, I don't see you rising to speak to this. You're good?
We
All
appreciate
right.
the vote of confidence.
Can I have any more discussion on ordinance 1148? Are you ready to vote? Let's do a roll call, Carla.
Myers?
Yes.
Kangas?
Yes.
Jones?
Yes.
Drinkow?
Yes.
Bergen?
Yes.
Wolf?
Yes.
Rafi?
Yes.
Thank you. We'll move to item 2B. This is the first time I've seen this, so I'm pretty excited. Suspend the rules. That sounds awesome. So, item 2B, to suspend the rules and move directly to a third and final reading of ordinance 1148. Can I have a motion to do that?
I would move approving to suspend the rules and move directly to the third and final reading of ordinance 1148.
Thank you.
Second.
Got it? So, any discussion?
I was going to say to be or be.
Okay. All right, that's a voice vote. All those in favor of suspending the rules for 1148, please say aye.
Aye.
And opposed? That's unanimous. That, of course, takes us then to item 2C. This is the third and final reading of ordinance 1148, an ordinance amending the zoning ordinance of the City of Waverly, Iowa, providing for rezoning of 725_729 2nd Avenue Northeast from an R1 residential district to an R2 residential district, and amending the Waverly zoning map as provided by this ordinance. Can I have a motion, please?
I will move the third and final reading of ordinance 1148 as read by the mayor.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Any more discussion? This one is a roll call vote. Carla, could you help us out?
Angus.
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
Drinkow.
Yes.
Bergen.
Yes.
Wolf.
Yes.
Rafi.
Yes.
Myers.
Yes.
Thank you. That passed unanimously, which allows us to move on to item 3. This is the date, time, and place for a public hearing on ordinance 1149, an ordinance amending the zoning ordinance of the City of Waverly, Iowa, providing to rezone Parcel 1, currently part of Parcel ID, ready, 0533300017, from A1 Agricultural District to M1 Light Industrial District. The mayor and city council will entertain any and all comments. After comments have been made, the hearing will be declared closed, and the following action will be considered. Madam City Clerk, have you received any written or oral comments?
If not, Your Honor.
Thank you. Anyone in the room want to rise to this, item 3? Anyone want to rise to this, item 3? This hearing is declared closed. We'll take this to the council. You have in front of you, friends, the second reading of ordinance 1149 to rezone Parcel I, currently a part of Parcel ID 0333000017, from A1 Agricultural District to M1 Light Industrial District. Anyone care to make a motion?
I'll move to approve the second reading of ordinance 1149, an ordinance amending the municipal code of ordinances by rezoning Parcel I, currently a part of Parcel ID 0533300017, from A1 Agricultural District to M1 Light Industrial District.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
Any discussion? All right, this will be a roll call vote. Carla?
Jones.
Yes.
Drinkow.
Yes.
Bergen.
Yes.
Wolf.
Yes.
Rafi.
Yes.
Myers.
Yes.
Angus.
Yes.
That passed unanimously, which takes us to item 3B. And look, we're going to do it again. This is a motion to suspend the rules and move directly to the third and final reading of ordinance 1149. Anyone care to make a motion?
I move approval to suspend the rules and move directly to the third and final reading of ordinance 1149.
Second.
Thank you. We'll give that to Councilman Kangas. Is there any discussion? This is a voice vote. All those in favor of suspending the rules on 1149, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passed unanimously, which will take us to item 3C. This is the third and final reading of ordinance 1149 to rezone Parcel I, currently a part of Parcel ID 0533300017, from A1 Agricultural District to M1 Light Industrial District. Is there a motion?
I'll move to approve the third and final reading of ordinance 1149, an ordinance amending the municipal code of ordinances by rezoning Parcel I, currently a part of Parcel ID 0533300017, from A1 Agricultural District to M1 Light Industrial District.
Second.
Thank you. We'll give that to Julie. And is there any more discussion? This is your third time at this?
We're getting pretty good at it.
Yeah. All right, you appear ready to vote. So, Carla, this is a roll call vote.
Drinkow.
Yes.
Bergen.
Yes.
Wolf.
Yes.
Rafi.
Yes.
Myers.
Yes.
Kangas.
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
That passed unanimously, which will take us to item 3D. Again, Resolution 24-120, a resolution approving a plat survey of Parcel I located within Parcel ID 0533300017 of Waverly, Iowa. Is there a motion?
I'll move to approve Resolution 24-120, a resolution approving a plat of survey for parcel I located within parcel ID 0533300017 of Waverly, Iowa.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? None? This then is a roll call vote, please.
Bergen.
Yes.
Wolf.
Yes.
Rafi.
Yes.
Myers.
Yes.
Kangas.
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
Drinkow.
Yes.
That passed unanimously. And that brings us to item G, public comments on items that are not on the agenda. Please limit your comments to 5 minutes. You have something to discuss with us that is not on the agenda. Now is the time. Be aware, since it's not on the agenda, we cannot enter into a discussion with you. Anyone rising for comments on items not on the agenda? That takes us to item H, the consent calendar. Council, if the consent calendar is in front of you, I would accept a motion to take the whole thing en bloc.
I'll move approval of the consent calendar as presented.
Thank you.
Second.
Any discussion? Yes, sir.
The pickup will be for what department?
Which
That
item?
is for the water department, I believe.
Water. Okay.
They aren't getting cheaper, are they?
No, it is not getting cheaper. We were able to find a 1-year-old demo with 8,000 miles on it, which did greatly reduce the overall price for a brand new vehicle. So we do try to scour when we can and get these.
Any other discussion? This is the consent calendar, a voice vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
And opposed, please say nay. That passed unanimously. We are now on to regular business. If you wish to speak to regular business, please come up to the microphone before we get to your topic so that I know you want to be called on. We're happy to hear from you. This will take us to item 1. This now is the second reading of ordinance 1150, an ordinance amending Waverly Code section 105.4.10 by adding subsection 60. Is there a motion?
I'll move to approve the second reading of ordinance 1150 and ordinance amending Waverly Code section 105.4.10 by adding subsection 60.
Second.
All right, for those keeping score at home, this is no parking kind of by the Pizza Ranch. Any more discussion?
Well, I'm going to repeat myself and say that I don't think this is what the city designers had in mind when they put this road in. They made it wiggly to try to slow down the traffic, and I think that removing the parking will speed up the traffic, which I think is not the goal. I think that when they planned it, they planned on most of that traffic going along 3rd Avenue. Perhaps it was a mistake to try to not make that a connector road, but I think that as it is designed, it probably we shouldn't be doing things to speed up traffic on that road.
Okay, thank you. Any other discussion? This is your second reading, so this will be a roll call vote. If you're ready to vote, you appear to be. Carla?
Wolf.
Yes.
Rafi.
Yes.
Myers.
Yes.
Kangas.
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
Drinkow.
Yes.
Bergen.
No.
That passed 6-1. We're on to Resolution 2, which is 24-121. This is a resolution approving an Iowa Department of Transportation supplemental agreement for maintenance of primary roads in municipalities. Can I have a motion?
Move to approve Resolution 24-121, a resolution approving an Iowa Department of Transportation supplemental agreement for maintenance of primary roads in municipalities.
Second.
Thank you. So you have this in front of you. This is our contract. We're going to help take care of their roads, and they're going to pay us handsomely for it?
Yes, sir. This is setting the rates for fiscal '25. It's in the middle of the 5-year contract with DOT.
So have we seen this kind of contract before? This looks new to me, so.
Annually, we see this. It started July of '21. It's going through June 30, '26. And so each year they will set the rates for the next year. This one is $2,415 per lane mile, so a total of $15,552.60.
Okay.
So I assume these rates are set by the DOT. This isn't a negotiated item.
It's not a negotiated item,
I'm not surprised.
so you are correct.
Yes, but James reminds me, I forgot to say Happy New Year to everyone. We're in a new fiscal year.
That's correct.
So, here we go. All right, any more discussion on this agreement? I hear none, so I'm going to assume you're ready to vote. Carla?
Rafi.
Yes.
Myers.
Yes.
Kangas.
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
Drinkow?
Yes.
Bergen?
Yes.
Wolf?
Yes.
Okay, that was unanimous, thank you. Item 3. This is Resolution 24-122, a resolution accepting the Construct Taxiway Connector project as being complete, approving change order number 2, approving final pay application from Wix Construction, and approving final invoice number 152574 from McClure Engineering. Do I have a motion?
I'll move approval of Resolution 24-122, a resolution accepting the Construct Taxiway Connector project as complete, approving change order number 2, updating as-built quantities for an increased amount of $1,386, approving final pay application number 6 from Wix Construction for $8,486, and approving final invoice number 152574 from McClure Engineering for $1,042.
All righty, thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
It's on the table. Any discussion?
So I know there was issues with the paint on the roads. Has that been resolved? Kind of the striping down the center of the road kept coming loose
On the taxiway?
on the taxiway.
Really?
I thought that was something that they were dealing with, so.
I don't know that I'm familiar with that. I'll double check with Justin to make sure that's been addressed, but I don't think we'd be finalizing this if it wasn't.
Okay.
So
I
I'll
mean,
double check
I
that.
will admit, I missed the last 2 airport commission meetings because I was traveling, so I know there was something they were talking about at the last meeting I was at, so.
Okay. We'll definitely look into that.
yeah.
Any more discussion on 24-122? Okay, you appear ready to vote. This is a roll call vote. Carla, can you help us out?
Myers?
Yes.
Kangas?
Yes.
Jones?
Yes.
Drinkow?
Yes.
Bergen?
Yes.
Wolf?
Yes.
Rafi?
Yes.
Thank you, that passed unanimously. We are now on to what everyone's looking forward to, item number 4, an update on the municipal swimming pool project. Garrett, you got the floor.
Well, I'll get this up for you, get something on your screens. Ooh. Very pretty, right?
Yeah.
All right, let's get this on your screen. All right, you guys should be able to see that. And let James talk, I'll chime in when I need to.
Sure. As was requested, we were heading for this meeting anyway, so I'm glad Rod requested we come here with this. So we've been working quite a while with JEO Engineering, kind of how this evolved into where it is right now. And again, this is still not 100% final, but we're just asking you, similar to what we did with the golf course, clubhouse, to kind of bless this going forward, or at least give us some idea of why you don't want to. We passed along all the information that MSA Engineering had collected during their sessions with people, the things they wanted. They were putting dots on things, etc. And so that whole list of items is substantial. And what they tried to do is put it all into here. Some of what you see as you get into zero entry is you have to have a certain depth of water for some of the amenities that people want. So they can only be in certain places because they have to have so much water to sit. So you can't put your big floating shark over in the zero entry because he's got to have so many feet of water to float it. So when you look at this, as we move, we'll go from left to right. You have the swim team lanes, the 6 lanes there that are deep enough on each end for the turns. You have a diving board in the bottom. You move a little bit less water into where the floatable is. Now, if you don't like the shark, it can be a crab, it can be whatever you want it to be. I don't know about a pirate ship, that would be kind of cool though. So we had a lot of discussion on how big that area should be, because one of the things we wanted to try and do was make sure that for all the youth that are coming to this pool, that we have something for all age groups. And for quite a while, we were leaning very heavy to the 0 to 4 to 6. We had a much larger play structure. We had a much larger splash pad and all these things going on, but there wasn't much for the upper age groups. So we kind of brought that back in, dialed that back down a little bit. The splash pad is about the same size, a little bit smaller slide. And then we added a much bigger, faster curved slide, which is a different age group as well. And that little area in front of that is where the landing zone is, which you have to have a certain area. So then as you keep moving, it gets gradually closer and closer down to 0. So while the footprint is a little bit bigger, the amount of water it uses will be less because it's not near as deep. As you recall, currently, our most shallow part of the pool is 3 feet. that doesn't sit well with children, smaller youth, they can't do that. So this eliminates the wading pool, you have a much better area to enter into. You have visibility lines that you can finally see now from one side to the other, depending on how you're positioning yourself, you have multiple children. They did look at a small peninsula, if you see it on the zero entry, so it's not just one broad ranging area, kind of in the, if you're looking at the city map, it'd be the southeast side. And they kind of show that also, it's kind of a area you could have it slightly deeper. So if you're zero entry in the one side, it'd be maybe a foot or 15, 18 inches on that side. So again, it's just another cove for a different sized child to be able to comfortably use it. Parents will possibly be a seating area around that as well. But we do want to have shade covers in as many places as we can. And that area is still being talked about. Do we shade cover that whole area? So it's kind of a reprieve from the sun. We have quite a few more shade covers than we had initially. We have them all across the west side and the east side. You have some by the splash pad. We do have a shelter. People can use that also by the splash pad. And the one thing we saw in a couple different pools we've looked at, and we've looked at a lot of pools, is that dry play activity area, the southeast side of it. And we've seen a lot of turf in that area. Some pools have put that in so it's easier to maintain, so you're not having to run a mower through there, and blowing grass or water is not usually a good thing. And so you can have a large checkerboard, as we show, concrete bag systems have been put in. There's a variety of things you can do on that green space area that gives an alternate to playing in the pool the whole time. We flipped the concessions to the other side of the bathhouse. The purpose of that being it will be open to the pool and also to the outside of the pool, which then allows anybody at Kids Kingdom to also utilize those concessions. So even if the pool's not operational, concessions possibly could be, depending on staffing, et cetera. One of the larger determining factors was the amount of staffing we can provide. We tried to keep this at about 6 lifeguards positioned strategically throughout, and I think that's been accomplished. That was a struggle for a while. We had some larger items that the visibility simply wouldn't allow it, and so I think we've accomplished that here. JEO did a very nice job of incorporating a lot of different pool ideas from all different pools they've done from across the country. A lot of them in the Midwest, some local as far as Marengo or even Granny Center. And this is kind of the concept that we've come up with, that it gets the most items in that people marked and wanted for, we hope, the most reasonable price, which we're still hammering out. But this is kind of what we've got. Couple numbers I will throw at you. We were looking at initially, they're working on a fact sheet to bring to you as well. We had some errors on that we had to get addressed, but the cost to fix our current pool, and that's without adding zero entry. That's just fixing it to code, what it would be, was just shy of $4 million. Because you're really tearing out large pieces of it to fix a lot of problem areas we've had from a 57-year-old pool. Whether it was the drainage, the mechanicals would have to be completely done. Part of it, we just have to shave off part of the pool, reconfigure it on the top because the drainage system there was not working very well. And so they have a breakdown of that we will get to you as soon as that's finished as well. But about just shy of $4 million, 3.9 and change. To try and add
James, can I ask a question?
Yes,
Does
ma'am.
that include a new bathhouse?
It would have to, yeah.
Yeah.
Or it was at least taking off the top of it, but leaving the structured walls if we could. But there's a significant amount of repair that has to be done because the beams themselves are forcing the block to crack.
Right.
So the bones would kind of still be there, but a lot of it's gonna have to come out. So we would keep what we could. Cosmetically, I don't know how that would even work. I just know that's a lot of money to not gain anything other than functioning up to code as it sits today. That's no splash pad, no zero entry, no additional amenities. It's just that pool as it sits.
Okay.
To try and blow out an end and put in zero entry was another $1 million at least. We think $1 million was light. We start looking at the amount of material that's gonna have to be done. That would eliminate the wading pool, but yet we've got a photo we're hunting for that we looked initially. It looks awful. I'm gonna be very honest. It's a very weird area to the north and east of it. You're gonna try and chip away at the current pool and bring that in. It is nothing close to what you're seeing here, which is a whole lot more space and area. And the visibility, unfortunately, is not very good across other parts of the pool. So it did not allow for a lot of increased items that we were hoping to get put into here. We're still working on finalizing a new pool, but if you're already at $5 million, you still don't have your splash pad, you really don't have anything new at all, it's the same. I think going with a new structure will be our most logical choice, depending on the age of everything, and that's before we get into the underground piping and everything else. So this is kind of what we're bringing to you, to take comment, questions, et cetera. We're still looking at how this is gonna come out financially. We're hoping in another week to meet with Spear Financial and start looking at total cost estimates, so we have a better idea to be able to explain to you what does it look like, how would it be funded, what does that do, can it be funded in this way? Because there's a whole list of other projects we talked about in the last year that still need to be done as well. Regular city business, not just these two special items, if the vote goes to allow this to happen. So, I'll let you talk now, ask any questions you want, but this is, to date, kind of the best that we have and what it looks like, and it's everything that could fit into it as efficiently as it could.
Kind of, I guess, I kind of like that there's within the footprint. I wouldn't mind seeing if we're going to do completely new reconstruction, even pushing outside of the footprint a little bit. I know in the past when we talked, one of the discussions was, is it possible to move it, the footprint of the pool a little bit further south to maybe give the parking lot a little bit more space on the north side there, if that was a possibility with it. I know one of the talks about moving with the footprint was that we could potentially keep the pool, one pool open while we were building other, but we're past that at this point.
That's why we have it on this current location now.
Yeah,
To utilize it.
but even then, I wouldn't mind, I guess, looking at the possibility of what we could do, maybe if we weren't trying to stay with it just within the current footprint. I've expressed comments that I always thought we kind of should lean into the German heritage part of Waverly and make like the children's play structure more like a castle and have a dragon instead of a shark or something like that. But kind of lean into that a little bit, just to kind of have our own unique space with this. I like that the splash pad is added in there. That's going to be a feature that will be used, even potentially when the pool's not open. It looks like the fencing would be, allow it, that it would be.
And we may look at expanding that, not to interrupt, sir, but even when Kids Kingdom is done, which I do think that's where we may look at the castle side of it, the whole
Right.
restructuring of that. There may be additional splash pad piped outside that fence that would truly be accessible regardless of where you are, so you don't have to be in the pool. That's kind of some of what we wanted as well. There are different ways to get into the splash pad, and if the pool is not open, that's a whole different configuration we're looking at. We've moved that 3 different times. Try and see where it could be, what made sense. We keep coming back to that end closest to Kids Kingdom, where it may be redeveloped right next to it and tied into it completely. So it's almost like an addition to the complex. But this is bigger than our current footprint. It is definitely more concrete, it's wider, it's gonna sweep down. The internal part of it is right in there, but it is gonna be outside that footprint for sure.
And then the only other, my other thing that I've thought of is the one when people keep talking about, oh, well, look what Shell Rock was able to get done, and the one thing that I point out to them was they fundraised large part of that as well.
Yes.
It wasn't just the city
Cat grant, there was a
doing
large
that,
portion of that.
but
yes, sir.
they did some fundraising, and so on the financial side of it, which we'll come back to later, I think that's still something that needs to be heavily discussed in this, is the potential for how do we engage the public in terms of a fundraising to help. Maybe it's do some of those extra amenities type things to it. We do the structure and some of those extras.
And I think that's a discussion we'll have. As you've seen my career here, I will bring you a solution regardless of how it will be funded. It may not be the one you like, but it will be a solution to get it done. If we can somehow bypass that funding to other areas, other avenues, grants, et cetera, that's outstanding. But we will not come in and then hope we fundraise. We will find a way and have it. It's just the other is much more appealing for what we're gonna be looking at.
Garrett, how many lifeguards have you needed in the past with the sight lines?
We usually, if we're at full force, we have 6 up, 2 are down, and then rotate through that. So this is looking at 6, possibly a 7th on a very busy day, to have everything covered. But that should not be a problem at all with how this is laid out.
I like it. I think it looks good. I like that you're thinking about all different types of age groups, all different types of swimmers who are going to use it. I like that there's shade.
That was a big topic.
Yeah,
A lot of shade
that's
talk.
a great idea. And then having that shelter there, and I would like to expand the splash pad so that part of it's free, so
Yep.
that, it's outside the fencing. I think it's a great idea to move concessions and have that over there and capitalize on the people who are at the playground. Is there, and I do agree, I think it'd be great to get some sort of fundraising going, maybe for some of the other, like the shelter or that sort of thing. But I also don't want that to hold it back, because I think we need a pool. And so I don't want that to get delayed, or open the pool but have it be half finished, or have it look half finished, right? So, is there any advantage to, or disadvantage to including replacing Kids Kingdom in this project? I mean, I know that adds another
It just puts a $1
chunk of
million
money.
rock in our pack.
Okay.
And it's a big one. We're looking at it, can it all be done at once? It's much more beneficial to do that and factor the whole thing in. That's the question we're gonna have with Spear next week. We meet
Okay.
Monday with Maggie to kind of walk through all this. What does it look like? Our capacity, I think, is there. I'm more worried about bottom line, what's it gonna do? Because a lot of this, we approved local option sales tax to be utilized as well. That's part of what the vote was for a year ago with their 80% approval on that. And so, we utilized that last big payment from the Parkway to backfill in the diamonds. That was the last chunk that got that done. Quite a few years out yet to get to that point, to be able to knock out 600-some thousand a year without using property taxes, which is what we would try to do. So a lot of it's gonna be, how far can we move that bond? Can we backload it? Can we do it so far? You still have to have some tax. It's a lot of moving parts. And again, there's a whole list of other projects that we are probably gonna have to take a look at. Some will be coming up soon. Some we can push off a little bit. And that'll go a little more into some infrastructure planning this fall, but in the meantime, we do wanna get a handle on worst case scenario, what's it look like if all these things come around? And so we'll be looking at debt that's coming off, cost of additional debt. We'll use some very conservative growth numbers, because again, we don't know what the state's gonna do to us year to year, especially the way they're capping our valuations, that growth. And so we have to be very conservative in how we finish this out and what it's gonna look like financially. And so we're gonna bring you worst case scenario, and then hopefully it's gonna be much, much better than that. It's just gonna be, again, it's a solution. It just may not be a pleasant one, depending on how it all turns out, but we'll know more in about a week.
And did they give you any idea of how long it would take to build this? Like,
I
will it
think
go
for
into
us-
2 summers, or can they do it?
I don't know. The biggest thing is how fast can we get engineering done? If you bless us, we move forward, the vote occurs, and it's positive to build this. We may start engineering before that even happens, because it can sit on a shelf when it's done, if we
Yeah,
have
yeah.
to. But if we wait until the vote is potentially positive, you're not gonna have this engineered until the spring, and then the contracts come out, and you're bidding this dead in the middle of the
Right,
busiest
right.
time of year. So if we can get engineering done early, best case scenario, you have your bid contracts ready January, February, you get this out. Demolition is occurring through the spring, summer. You may start to get some report, but I don't think it'd be in time for late summer. It could be possibly in the fall, maybe of a late, very chilly opening. But again, there's a lot of moving parts, and it has to go very well to get that done. Obviously, weather, river.
Yeah.
May take some precedence here, but I think it's possible that you could see a late fall. These guys will know more once we meet with JEO again. I'd say worst case, if things go very well, you'd be in a brand new facility in 2026. So less than 2 years from now, you'd be in a new facility, assuming
Okay.
vote, et cetera, going forward.
Right.
Yeah, I want to clarify something, Dr. Rathi. And Garrett, I know you just explained this to me, but if I screw it up, fix it, okay? When the pool is not open, like in the mornings, the splash pad would be available for free. So families could come and.
Oh, even though it's in the fence?
Yes, there'll be
Like
two
a
gates.
side gate.
Oh,
See that
okay,
gate
okay,
north,
gotcha.
East
So-
part of it.
Correct.
Okay,
Yeah, I just think that's something important to tell the
Yeah.
community, that, that some of this will be of no cost for families for whom that's an issue. Otherwise, it's not that expensive to use the pool, but yeah. And
that-
then-
That would include evenings as well, after the pool is closed, and then pre-season, after the season for the pool, we would plan on having the splash pad open earlier, all day, and after the pool was closed for the season, the splash pad could stay open as well, probably another 3 weeks to a month.
The only thing we don't have on here, and we just kind of talked about this the other day, is lights.
Yeah.
We don't have that factored in yet, what that looks like, where they're gonna have to be placed, what that is, what that isn't. And so that's something else we need to get back to JEO on and start looking at, what about lights?
Well, and I assume that security cameras would also be
Yeah.
a consideration as well.
Considering everything else,
Yeah.
yes, we will have cameras at some point too, down there. We may have to move that power line somewhere also that's kind of rubbing up, gonna be close to that splash pad, but lights are the one other thing that we still have to get.
You don't want a power line.
It's above it, but we'd rather not have it there at all.
Right.
So, I think it's a bad idea, Tim. But, I do think that with all the work they've put in, we literally gave them a list of this has to fit in here somewhere. This is what they can come up with. There's a couple smaller options we looked at too, you know, the Ninja Lions walking on this and that. You gotta jam that in here too, and it gets really tight, because you only have so much water at a certain depth before it starts getting a lot bigger, a lot more concrete, and a lot more cost.
What doesn't look like there's a climbing wall or anything.
Right.
Same
Yeah, we didn't think
concept probably.
slippery rock walls would be a good idea either. We kinda shied away from those. I know some pools have them, great for them.
I was wondering how those get by, it just.
I don't know.
It doesn't seem all that safe.
I know
I
you're
think the
following
secret is you
it.
fall into the water.
Well, yeah, theoretically.
Oh,
I don't know. I mean,
we didn't wanna go down that path for those reasons. I don't wanna know how it works. We just stayed with a very simple, we're not trying to be the Falls or Lost
Right.
Island. It's a simple pool with a lot of good amenities for all different age groups.
It's
and
a
it
good
still
place to
allows
go
us
when it gets
flow.
hot,
Yeah.
Yes.
so.
Also, James alluded to concerns he has with the legislature.
Yeah.
James has concerns, I have straight up fear, that they may decide to do another cut. They could also decide to eliminate the local option sales tax. They could decide to eliminate referendums.
Or they could put referendums every 2 years.
Yeah,
Which was talked
so-
about this last year, so that it always falls on a heavy election year.
In terms of order of operations,
Yeah.
I believe we need to move fast on this. We need to get
Well,
going.
I
So
think the public wants us to. move
Yeah,
on.
yeah.
the public wants us to move fast. We've surveyed the public, then we've gone to professional pool people, and they've put what the people said we want. We don't have a resolution on item 4, but if you bless this today, we can move forward financing and then engineering, and we can be ready should the vote pass in November. And that would expedite things. So I'm looking for a consensus that we love this. Today is not the day to argue, frankly, over the color of the umbrellas or the
That day will
style.
come.
That day will be
Looking
here,
forward to it.
but today, what I'm looking for from you is a, let's go.
Let's go.
let's go.
Let's go.
Looks good.
Okay. We'll move forward, get some solid numbers on it, and hopefully in a week or so, come back with a plan of how's this all gonna look. Like I said, we'll have a good meeting next week with Maggie, and we
So
got a
you-
list.
You gave us the cost to fix or a cost to add the walk-in. What,
Right.
is there a ballpark on this right now?
Oh, God, I hate to even ballpark. It's more than the others.
It's more than the others, but the value we're getting by doing
Yeah.
it new. and-
Yeah, brand new
Absolutely.
everything.
We got 57 years out of the other one.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does-
That was,
We wanna do it once, we wanna do it right.
That pool doesn't owe us anything. It served us well, but.
Yeah.
Well, I think I like what is in here. I was afraid we were going to have a lot of extraneous things that we were going to have to argue over and cut.
Yeah.
This does not have that. I mean, like a lazy river or a
It did,
giant.
but it's
I
not
know,
there
I've seen the
anymore. We took
preliminary
those out. That
plans.
that
And
would
they're-
hurt.
You know, we're not trying to compete with a water park here. This is,
No.
like someone said, this is a place just to go in and cool off on a hot summer's day within walking distance or short driving distance of the people here in town.
Well,
So
that our kids can bike ride too, basically.
hopefully, crossing Bremer Avenue is a problem, but that's for another discussion. The only comment I will make on this is that you would probably want to put in as much shade as possible, so we don't
Yes.
have people having fistfights over who was there first, and I had my towel here in the shade area. You cannot be here, even though I haven't been here for the last 3 hours.
Shade management will be Chief's problem.
Yes.
No, we did at one time even have cabanas in here for rental, et cetera, but the cost
Yeah.
to put those in, because that's popular, it's just,
Well, that sounds
It's a
like
lot.
that sounds like a good thing that we could fundraise for.
it's,
Yeah,
it's
that can be like, you know,
we
take
wouldn't have
10
space for it now, because the extra concrete to, holy, that definitely raised the dollar signs on it.
So is this, are they looking at putting in a surface that absorbs water? Or just plain old concrete
It's
for the
regular
decks?
concrete.
Okay.
I'd hate to be losing more water.
No, I mean, some of
absorbing.
them have systems, you know, where they,
Yeah.
yeah. okay.
Captures it.
It'll route it back to the pool or to a drain system, and they'll have all that captured, so it's not gonna sit there, but.
Okay.
Good.
We're not really looking at having to completely redo the parking lot either.
Shouldn't, it might be an overlay or resurfacing,
Yeah.
but I don't think we'd have to
Blacktop
move
overlay
it.
or something, but
You know, you have the mini golf putt thing that's not really ever been used, it could expand to that area. You know, we may be able to expand that, because I do think it's gonna be a lot more people attending this, and
Yeah.
and those are all things we're gonna have to look forward to, and since we're moving this to the original location as it is, we have a whole different spot where that location was, what goes there now. That's a whole nother thing we're trying to work through and figure out. So while this is just phase one of the pool, let's say, clubhouse, the same kind of thing, what's phase two, what's phase three? So we don't have this stagnant, it's gonna be 3 years before we can put in Kids Kingdom, or 4 years before the shelters are done.
Right.
It's gotta stagger out so that we continue to progress this till it's finished, and that's the real challenge right now. The first part's not that bad, I can do that alone, it's just, what about everything else after?
I'm sure there's some people in town who would love pickleball courts out at the other site, so.
I'm sure there are.
Thank you for
And-
bringing that up.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
If you'd like to take the chance that we turn a ball off number 3 right into that pickleball court, well, I got game on, put your helmets on, because it's gonna happen. It happens now, so we
I
gotta
just wanted-
relook at all that.
Sorry.
No, go ahead, yeah.
I just wanted to comment that I'm impressed and appreciative that both staff and JEO have really listened to the input that came from MSA, and I think they've gotten a lot into something that's not pie in the sky. I think this is doable, and the community needs to see that we're being responsible, but that we're also being responsive to what they've asked for, and I think this does it.
Okay, so if we get consent from the voters, we're gonna build ourselves a pool.
We're gonna try, yeah.
James, do you have any staff updates?
Anything, Garrett?
I'll just add quick, Mr. Bergen had asked me before the meeting if disc golf baskets were back out yet or not, and they are back. They came back yesterday. So, big thank you to that disc golf group, because they're the ones who went and pulled them, stored them, and put them back out yesterday.
Nice.
During the flood time. So, I mean, and great by you guys by letting us get the more expensive baskets that they could be done that easily and taken out. So, yeah, disc golf is back right now.
yeah.
That's all I've got for you tonight.
I think it's all we have
Thank
to
you.
answer.
Alrighty. Comments from the city council. Councilperson Bergen.
Well, the first is thanks to the city staff and all the people all the volunteers who helped us get through our flood event. I mean, it was not nearly as bad as it could have been. It's not as bad as other parts of the state are seeing, but it was really nice to see how well our planning has worked. I mean, the deflatable dam did its job, the dry run renovations did its job. It was very comforting to see how responsible our flood planning has been, responsible and competent. So just kind of props to the city staff and all the good work that they did this past week and in the years leading up to this. I also have to say, I took myself out on a little bike ride out to see the Baskins Creek Bridge construction. It is coming along nicely. I think actually there's lots of people who kind of ride out to the bridge to keep track of progress. So I'm happy to see that it is going along quite nicely. And anyone who wants to discuss city council business, I will be at the poorhouse afterwards.
Thank you. Councilperson Jones.
I've heard a lot of positives about city staff, as Brian is saying, the planning and the work that city staff did, so congratulations and thank you for that. I briefly mentioned to James, sounds like there'd be a study done on maybe how we could tweak some things going forward.
Yep.
There's always room for improvement, or at least a discussion about if we can do anything better.
Councilperson Myers.
Unfortunately, I was either otherwise committed or ill for every one of the block parties, but I talked to a lot of people that went to them and got rave reviews, and so I wanted to thank Mayor, Human Diversity Commission, and the library for putting that together. I hope it's something that can happen again every year.
Thank you. Councilperson Kangas.
Just, again, thanks for the staff for what they do as far as when we get these flood events. It's been a lot of work getting to the point, and there is, always a chance to review and look back. On that line, I've mentioned in the past, I would like to still name the emergency response center out at the new public works facility for former Councilman Borum. I mentioned that in the past. I'd like to see about bringing that up as far as that goes. And the only other one would be to acknowledge to my wife, this is happy anniversary. It's our anniversary today, 29 years, which means just today also marks my 14-and-a-half-year anniversary on council. So starting tomorrow, I've been on council for more than half of my marriage. I might have to start owing her back some time for that, so.
Congratulations to both of you. Councilperson Draco.
Yes, well, I would like to add my congratulations to city staff for their work and reactions and all of the things that they did during the flood event. The dam worked the way it was supposed to, the inflatable dam. If we had not had the inflatable dam, I don't think there's much question that we would have had substantial flooding in northwest Waverly. So I'm very pleased that that worked out the way it did. I had a couple of people comment, they thought that the city, the information that was being put out by the city was needlessly alarmist. I cannot disagree with them more. I thought the information was very appropriate, it was timely, it said exactly what the plan was, it said what was going to happen when, and it was updated when things changed. Everybody should have known exactly what was going to happen, and I think that communication during this flood event was superior, was superlative. And I really want to congratulate the city for having a plan, for communicating what that plan was, and then following the plan. I think it was fantastic. I'm just thankful that the water didn't get any higher than it did. I do have some other comments. Oh, the one maybe dark part on this is not anything that we can do as a city. Mid-America Energy, as I was out walking there, talking to people in the neighborhoods about the flooding event and watching the water rise, I had a person who came out and said, hey, I was going to go in and cook my supper, but my stove doesn't work. And, well, did they tell you that they were going to shut it off? No, I hadn't gotten anything, information about it at all. And this was not in the area that Mid-America said they were going to shut the gas off. My wife, who just happened to be driving by at the time, I flagged her down. She flagged down a Mid-America truck, probably was more forceful with them than I would have been, and said, what's going on? And they admitted that they had shut down the natural gas to a fairly significant area on the west side of the Cedar River. Hadn't told anybody because they said they didn't have time to tell anybody, so they just shut it down. There are a lot of people who are really upset about that. So not something that the city has any responsibility for whatsoever, so please don't call us. I'm just highlighting that the fact that we can provide information to people, let them know what's going to happen and when things might be affecting them, I think is the best way that we can go about in these flood events and make sure that people are happy with what's happened even if it means that they have damage, they can take action to mitigate the damage. Which brings me up to my last point. About a year or so ago, then City Engineer Mike Cherry provided us with some reports on things that we could do in southeast Waverly for flood mitigation purposes. Most of the things that were on the suggestions were way beyond what we could afford to do. They just weren't possible. But one of the suggestions was something that I think was not outrageously expensive and would have a positive effect, and that was to raise 7th Avenue. 7th Avenue is the area that the water floods over first. It floods a lot of the other parts of southeast Waverly, so raising 7th Avenue by a couple of feet would perhaps prevent the flooding event from occurring in that area for maybe several hours, give more people time to react to it. It wasn't needed this time because people had days, so the river came up so slowly, there was plenty of time. That's not always going to happen. I don't know if anything was ever moved forward on that suggestion. My understanding and my memory of it was that the council was fairly favorably inclined to take a look at that going forward. That might be something we want to look at when we're setting our budget for the 25-26 year, if that's a project that we might want to take a look at trying to tackle.
I think the intention is to engage the services of a hydrologist and really take a look at it. What are the real options? And yeah, then move from there. It's great, it's not an emergency, we can take our time,
Right.
but yeah, thank you. Councilperson Rothi.
I really appreciate the clear communication from the city, as did my anxious patients who I was counseling through the flood. I mean, I think it's, I was doing drive-arounds through that whole thing, and it's strange, to see the river so beautiful but so menacing at the same time. And I think it's been very traumatic when people have been flooded out before. And so I think the more detail, the more info it's awesome for people to be able to access that easily. And I know that Mike from the water department was out making sure the sewer lift station was working in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
And so really appreciate all of their efforts. It's 4th of July this week, and so happy 4th of July. I think I'm reminded every day that we are very lucky to live here in America. And so please be respectful, be careful with your fireworks, and be respectful of your neighbors. And it's weird that it's on a Thursday, but it's a good holiday, so that's all.
Thank you, Councilperson Wolf.
Like everyone else, thanks to city staff for everything they did during the flood. I also want to thank the neighborhoods that came out and did the block parties with the Human Equity and Diversity Commission and the library. I went to most of them, not all of them, but most of them, and it was, it feels like we're doing community building through those. And that is refreshing in an age that feels very divisive. So that was really a beautiful thing to see kids and all these neighbors coming in, getting to know each other again. And I'll be at Get Roasted from 10:30 to noon tomorrow for any community building or for any counseling or
counseling?
You might be doing some counseling, you don't know.
City business.
Thank
Oh, and
you.
one thing I'll add is there are still spots available to volunteer at Heritage Days. We are going to be selling beer tickets on Saturday afternoon, so
I'd
they
like to
still
do
have
that.
spots open to do all sorts of.
How do you volunteer? There's a
You go
website?
to their Facebook page or the Waverly Heritage Days website, and right there it says how to volunteer. And then you sign up and you can pick your spots and what you want to do. Everything from monitoring bingo, which is always a very popular event, to just helping out with ticket sales or whatever. Carla's volunteering too, so,
Thank you.
yep.
I want to recognize that two of law enforcement officers were shot just a few miles from here in Waterloo on Sunday morning. I want to say again our deep appreciation from the whole council for our law enforcement officers. You are right that the natural gas people were enthusiastic about shutting off. Our power did not get cut to most of Southeast, and the lift station was defended, and the neighborhood was safe, and that's because a lot of our city employees stayed up all night. I couldn't be more proud of the city staff, just awesome stuff. So we'll be celebrating the 4th of July, as Doctor said. Let me remind you then that it's great to celebrate, it's great to have fireworks. Fireworks are a lot of fun as long as you're using them on July 3 from noon to 10, on July 4 from noon till 11, and again on July 5 from noon to 10. And again, just be very careful, watch the kids. And I saw on the communication from City last night, it specifies that it's only legal to launch fireworks from private property. I would add your private property, not my private property. Okay, so you can do that from your own yard. I wouldn't be going around town looking for private property. I was down in Southeast quite a bit during the flood, and I saw neighbors helping neighbors. I saw people helping sandbag. I saw people checking on mature neighbors. And it's just another example. We're good at floods here because we get a lot of practice, but you know what? We're also really good at helping each other. So, Waverly, be kind. I will accept a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And opposed, we are adjourned.